Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today a difficult subject for all of us that we need to confront. The elephant in the room, something I've ignored for far too long. Talking about stashes. Stash, by definition, it means a hoard. My precious models, my precious Matchbox. You may have others that are precious. Your Edwards may be precious. Your Airfixers, your Tamiyars, Great War Hobby, ICM, Model Collect, you know, Border, and the list just goes on and on and on. The chances are you've got one or many of those names in your stash, but we're going to talk today about stashes generally and how big is your stash? How stupid is it? Because mine's pretty stupid, but there are many worse than me. So, how do you manage it? How do you maintain your models? How do you keep them nice? People often say to me that, you know, I mean, these are items all in my stash. I do manage to keep them pretty much mint, you know. So the more collectible items like the Matchboxes, they're all boxed in bigger boxes. And within those boxes, I will almost always have amongst them some of these Silica Gel Packs. Something you get in, you know, you get in shoes and things like that. But these are bigger packs than you get in things like footwear, which you can buy. I mean, this one's Cello Express, which is like a brand name, and they come in all different sizes, from sort of huge down to these smaller ones. And most of these kits have actually got one of these in, because what you're doing there is you're trying to stop the moisture ingress, even just moisture when it's a cold day, you know, and your house is a bit cold. If you had them in the garage, I used to have mine in the garage, still got the odd one in here, but not as many as I used to have. And I noticed it would get very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter, and then a bit damp. Not damp, but it doesn't take much moisture to affect your decals. And your decals are the most sensitive thing in the box, really, that and the instructions. So I do recommend you get some of these. You know, you can buy them on eBay or Amazon or whatever, very cheaply, and you know, obviously you handle them with care. You don't want to get the stuff. Don't open the packet. It's just there to absorb moisture through the pack, and it does a very, very good job. And most of my kits have all got these in the boxes, so I must have hundreds of those bags actually. Now, I've got here just a little tiny snapshot of some of the ones from my own stash. But we need to talk about this. It's going to be a bit embarrassing, not just for me, for you too, because I think it's time we got the truth out there and opened up, came clean, you know, make a clean breast of it. Let's just confess our sins, because I think many of us here, me, and many of you watching this video, have got a lot of sin in this area. Yeah, I know you have. I hear some amazing stories sometimes on the modelling forum that I take part in from time to time, and I think I've got a big stash, but no, not really. So let's get down to mine. We'll talk about mine first, then we'll talk about yours later. Now, the biggest part, I've got quite a big number in my stash, but there's a reason, because I'm a Matchbox fanatic, as most of you know. By the way, tonight I decided I was going to have a drink and have some alcohol to keep my nerve, so that I don't start fibbing and pretending it's not such a big problem, and that I haven't got that many. I thought if I have a nice drink, a nice glass of French Bordeaux, I thought, sip of this, just a small glass, it might make me become a bit more loose with my tongue, a bit franker about the truth of all this, how much is tucked away, the value of them, the number of them, and how many I'm going to actually build. So, first question is, where do you keep your stash? And there's no right or wrong, and what I do isn't particularly right or wrong, or I think you've got to decide how important it is first of all to you. Well, to me, they're quite important. No, I haven't got an air-conditioned room or anything like that, but I do have a room that's very cool in the summer and reasonably warm in the winter. Overall, a relatively even temperature. As I mentioned, putting them in the garage is a bit risky, depending on what sort of garage you've got. Our garage is kind of internal to the house, so that's okay. That's better. If you've got an external garage or sheds and things, yeah, you don't want to be doing that because you're going to get a lot of moisture and big fluctuations of temperature in the building where the kits are. Equally, I think most people probably put them in the loft. Again, depends on your loft really, but if it's an older house, a lot of the lofts get a little bit cold, a little bit damp in the winter. During the summer, it can be like an inferno. You know, we've just had a record temperature summer, the hottest on record in 2022. So, frankly, having kits in the loft is not a good idea. It doesn't do them any favours. They dry up, the boxes dry up, the decals dry up. You need to have them, as I say, in a fairly controlled environment. You know, I think ideally between 10 and 20 degrees is the optimum. Now, not everybody can do that. I appreciate it, but try to keep them dry. That's the most important thing. You want them to stay looking good. I mean, people, as I say, people say mine look all pretty much mint. Most of them, apart from the ones that are known to be, you know, classic kits that are perhaps a bit ancient, that I've bought that way. But I've not had any real degradation of any of mine in the stash. And you've got to kind of think about this. Another good reason not to let the stash get out of control. Think about the kits that you are most passionate about, your real A-listers. So my A-listers, if you like, that I can name off the top of my head, just 2 or 3, would be the Tamiya 32nd scale Mosquito. That's so A-list that it doesn't even sit with the rest of the models. It's actually sitting on top of my model cabinet in the hall, which is a good place because it's doesn't have big fluctuations of temperature at all really. And again, this 10 to 20 degrees, yeah, it definitely sits in that window, so to speak. That's probably my most precious kit that I haven't built yet, which I do intend to build. Then you've got all the others like the Tomcats and some of the really nice Matchbox kits. The Matchbox kits are so precious to me that I rebox them in bigger boxes, putting in these desiccant moisture absorbing packs. So I've got one box that's about this big, quite over a metre. It must have about 40 kits in it, all the small purple range of Matchbox planes and tanks and things like that. And I tend to have a box for tanks and a box for planes. But then you put them in outer boxes like that, then you lose track of them. This is where the list comes in. The list. Like James Bond said in Skyfall, who's got the list? Have you got the list? Have you got any list? I mean, I've actually put mine on a spreadsheet, which a lot of people do that have big stashes. You don't have to do that though, just a manual list is fine as long as you've got a list. So what I do, and again I'm not trying to teach people that my way is right at all, but works for me. So I'll zoom in, give you an idea. This is the short version. This is literally the short version. There's 2 versions, one very long. So you can see here straight away that we have a list of what the kit is, where it is, we number it, what box it's in, what outer box it's in, here, then what the kit is, description, and then in this particular version it doesn't have a great description, it doesn't have a great deal of detail. But you can see there I've got favourite condition, best condition of all, this one says. And that means it's the best Matchbox I've got. Now, on the longer, more detailed version, I've got things like instructions only in black and white, or a slight scratch in the canopy, real detail, you know. But that takes time. If you want to go into that in a sort of forensic way, then you can. But I've sort of lost interest in that over time. I've still got the data, but I prefer to work with a smaller list that's a bit easier to understand, really, you know. A bit more straightforward, a bit more rational, easy to thumb through and quickly get an idea of what's what. So, you don't need to do this. As I say, you can do it your own way, but you need a record. I think this is one of the problems with stashes. People actually lose track of what's in the stash. I don't mean that they buy duplicates or repeats necessarily, but it's very easy if you don't have a list for it to get super out of control, I think. You know, because I'll see a nice Harrier, Matchbox Harrier for sale on eBay, and I'll think, well, hang on a minute, we've got a couple of those already. Do we need another one? What's going to be special about it? So, you know, I go to my trusty list, And here we go. You can see there that I've probably got enough Harriers, you know, probably got enough Strike Masters and Spitfires, Messerschmitt 109s, Thunderbolts, Buffaloes, etc, etc, etc. But the point is that I've got traceability, and I've got them numbered. I can go, and if it says best condition of all number 25 in box X, I can go straight to that and know that's the best one. And if I want to do a review or something or talk about it, that's what we do, we go straight to it. But it also helps you realise when it's getting a bit out of control. So, back to my own stuff. I was quite surprised when I looked at this. If I assume that the average price, selling price for a Matchbox kit is probably average about £20, because I've got the purple range, I've got the orange range, the red range. The average is about approximately £20, let's say, average. Well, I must have £2,200 with the Matchbox kits, which is quite a lot. It's too much, isn't it? But I'm a collector of them, you know. But, you know, then we go into all the tanks, put all the tanks together, and then we go into the orange range. So it's all a rational sort of methodical listing. So what have we got? We've got, I'll give you an idea of the numbers, and this is not bragging, because there's nothing to be proud of really. It's a bit stupid, to be honest. So in the aircraft we've got Matchbox purple range, and we've got purple range. No, it's quite modest, it's quite sensible. There's about, that sounds low actually, the jump around I think we're going to find there's more later. Yeah, I am. But there's about 38 aircraft, and then we've got probably a similar number of perhaps 35 tanks in the purple range. Then we go on to the orange range of aircraft. I've got all the PK numbers here as well. So if I ever want to sell one of these kits, I can go straight to it and I can check on the more detailed version of the list. And I've got the description there, so that's really useful for selling it, and say, oh, this one's got a missing canopy, or, I mean, I haven't got many that have got parts missing, very few actually. Most of mine are all complete and in really nice boxes, most of them, because I've specifically bought them looking for pristine examples. And it's taken 10 years nearly to build up this collection. But then you go into the orange range. So orange aircraft, there's a lot less of those. There's, what is there? 16, 15, 16, 15 I think. 15 of those. And then you get into the red ones, which are the big ones, Matchbox ones, you know, less. Again, there's another probably 12 or 15. But then you realise that I've added more later, so these numbers suddenly all falls apart, the organisation of it really, because more orange ones appear, so there's actually about 30 orange ones, and there's about 20 odd of the red ones probably. So in sum total, on Matchbox, I've got, and this is distorting my stash, the Matchbox totally distorts it, because there's very few of these I'm going to build, because I've already built the ones I wanted to build and got them in the cabinet, or I built them in the past. There's about 140 Matchbox kits. 135, 140 thereabouts, looking at the list. And then we get into the sort of more glamorous stuff. So I've got me, you know, my Mosquito, big Mosquito from Tamiya, big Corsair from Tamiya. Both those were gifts as well, actually, and so on. And then you get into other things like the Ebro, Formula 1 cars, Lotus 88, Meng Jag Panther, and the Tamiya Armour. Got some of that here. You got Sheridan. Achilles, Wingnut Wings then appears. How many of those have I got? 10 I think. 10? Is it 10 or 11? Let's say 10. Well, they're worth, that's £800 straight away, you know. So just Wingnut Wings and Matchbox are 3,000 quid worth of kit. It's crazy, isn't it? It's ridiculous, like a car. And then we go on, you know, if you add in the Tamiyas, you can add probably another best part of £1,000, maybe not 1,000, maybe 750, 800 pounds of Tamiyas. That's, there's got to be £5,000 of kits. Easy. Oh God, Zukimuras. Just some nice Zukimura kits, and they are not cheap. You know, they are, you know, 80 to 155, well, 80 to 180 pounds a pop. ICM, Kinetics, Tacom, you know, got Kinetic there, we've got Revels. And there's a whole load actually recently. A bit embarrassed to share this, but there's another 10 or 11 Matchbox kits that people have given me recently as a result of all these videos. Well, actually, no, there's a couple I bought there, but there's at least best part of 8 or 9 that have been given as gifts. Amazing, amazing. Edward are in there, Tacom are in there. I reckon I've got close to 7,000, £6,500, £7,000 in kits. Certainly 6. Easy, 6 grand. Absolutely ridiculous, quite frankly. I mean, if I was to start again, I wouldn't go out and borrow £6,000 and go out and buy all this stuff. Why would you do that? So why do we do it? Why do we do it? This is what I really wanted to talk about. So I'm just going to enjoy a drink while you just reflect. So we've got, what did I say, 140 Matchbox kits, of which 1 or 2 literally might get built. It's crazy, really. But it's like any collector, I suppose. I take pleasure in taking them out, looking at them, which is really the basis of this YouTube channel, to be honest. It was really based on, I started this YouTube channel with a couple of pictures of my radio control aircraft, which was pretty boring and not very impressive. Bad photography, bad flying, bad everything. And then when I started building up the Matchbox collection, and I thought, I wonder if people would be interested in these. And so of course I started doing reviews, classic reviews. And that's kind of the majority of the stuff on the channel. Yes, I do new ones, I do new reviews, but I don't do that to compete with other people. I only do the kits I think are really interesting to me. So obviously we've had a few newish ones. The Kinetic was a new one, but that's going into the stash. Sometimes I do a review and then, because of this issue of, let's call it £6.5 grand value. It's a lot of money tied up. Stupid. Crazy. However, you know, to sell them, to get your £6,500 back, you'd probably be down to 5,000 after you've got your eBay fees or whichever medium you use to sell it for. So it's not easy to cash them in. But some of us do that, you know, and I do it from time to time. I've had a couple of newish kits that I've sold on, even this year. Because I really wanted to see certain manufacturers' latest products, ignoring other people's opinions, ignoring their reviews, just really wanted to see for myself and then share it with you and try to give you I may not have the best camera setup in terms of camera angles and positions and things like that. I haven't got any fancy mixing equipment and I have no editing equipment at all, but I do think I'm reasonably good at getting in close. If I have a fault, I think I don't let the camera let it dwell long enough. I've started to learn by watching some of my vids back, and I think you sort of wave it about too much and then you move it away. So I'm taking note of this. You're going to see me let it dwell a lot more in the future, because what I think is too long when you're watching it isn't really long enough, I've found. And I think when you want to see some of these amazing kits with very fine parts, you need to have 2 or 3 seconds at least of stillness so the camera can focus and you get time to look and absorb the information of the image. But anyway, I'm going off tangent now, talking about photography. But back to the stash. So I mean, how does that? I say I've got a total. I don't know if you noticed. This is the end of the list, which I thought was quite amusing the way it rounds off. Yeah. I've put on there the Avro Anson, the new Airfix 24 scale Spitfire. That's cheating a little bit because they haven't actually arrived yet. They are imminent, but they haven't arrived. Anyway, so it comes to 200 basically. So I've got 200 sitting in a stash, about £6,500 to £7,000, sitting in a room, not doing anything really. And it's like the old Irish joke, isn't it? If I was going there, you ask directions. If I was going there, I wouldn't be starting from here. If I was going to start modelling again, or, you know, the house burned down, I wouldn't rush out and spend £6.5 grand to get them all back. I know I wouldn't. But saying that, that's kind of unfair, I suppose, because I have reviewed these and put them on YouTube for you all to enjoy. So it served a purpose, you know. It served a purpose, and whilst it hasn't paid for itself, YouTube is not very lucrative, honestly. If I bought 2 kits a month, YouTube's, you know, 2 kits, something like that, would the Sheridan or the Kinetic Harrier and a Matchbox would wipe it out. So you can't, you know, You can't fund it through YouTube, it just wouldn't work that way. But I wanted to collect these kits and I wanted to share them with you, so you get a benefit, I get a little bit of money back. It softens the blow a little, but it doesn't pay for them by any stretch of the imagination at all. So it's a bit silly, isn't it? I think that we all need to have a chat about this and say, right, so come on, tell me, especially in the live chat. Be honest, how many kits have you got in your stash and what percentage are you going to build? Now, somebody asked me this question about late September, early October 2022, and I answered it with a lie. I didn't intend to lie. It was one of those answers, oh well, and he said, how many of your kits are you actually going to build in your stash? And I said, oh, I do build them, you know, which I did. Although this has been a very unproductive year and I'm going to change that. And I said about 1.5 to 2%. Well, 1.5, 2%, what would that be? 2%, that would be 4 kits a year. Well, I'm not even doing that, am I? So that's rubbish for starters. And that's not including the ones that I sell on. So it would actually be more like 6 kits a year. Which isn't a lot, is it? But I'm not even getting there, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It was after I answered him that I thought, well, that's an exaggeration you've said there. You're not even close, you know. Maybe that would be my normal sort of rate, in fairness to the way I answered the question. I think that other years, 4 to 6 kits is probably what I would do. Which is not a lot, is it? It's low, let's be honest. Most of you watching this will be saying, is that all he does? It's ridiculous. It's not a lot, I know. Shame on me. But it's having the time and the inclination and all the rest of it. But don't mind about me. It's easy to take a pop at the guy on the screen. What about you? Come on! I want to hear it. So, how many are you going to build? Now, how many have you got in your stash? And what value do you think that it comes to on the market? I'd say mine, you know, on the market, 6 grand. It's ridiculous. I could buy a nice car for that, you know. It's a lot of money tied up, isn't it? Just to have in a room that doesn't go anywhere, or, you know. And I'll be like all these other guys. One day I'll pop my clogs and my wife's going to have to clear up this mess probably and figure out how to sell them or give them away to charities. God forbid! I expect gold in return for my kits. But no, it's funny, and I think that we should all reflect on, you know, we rush out, we're all doing this, you know. Take example, perfect example. A little drink while I just contemplate this one. The recent releases from Airfix and Gecko of the K2 Austin ambulance is a perfect example. Now, of the regular subscribers on my channel, especially the ones that take part in the chat, 2 of you, to your credit, rushed out and bought this and built it, built the Airfix one. Hats off to you for that. That's really cool. That's really cool. And it does shock me actually. Some of my, I know I'm a slow builder, but I'm a good builder. I think I am reasonably good. But I do it to a certain standard, and I won't rush. I won't rush just because something's come out new. In my mind, and this is the other part of stashes actually. Well, I finished the point I was making regarding a couple of you that have built the ambulance, and they've done really nice jobs of them. They're lovely, they're really nice, excellent. I think God, they've knocked it out in a week or two, and I'm thinking, I don't believe this. You know, it's incredible. So it can be done. It can be done. You could easily do 2%, 5%, 10% of your stash, depending on how big it is. But most of us are just sticking them in a cupboard or in a loft or in my special room. Or the garage, and we are going to just look at them, really. And what was the point I was going to come to then? I was going to say, wasn't I, about how we decide what to buy next. And I think we're all a little bit guilty, many of us anyway, are a little bit guilty of trying to get that fly. Is annoying me. He's been buzzing around for ages. We try to. I think we follow a trend sometimes. It's like the new Airfix has come out. We've got to have it. New Airfix Spitfire, classic example. You know. I mean, I've got lots of Airfix. People think I'm anti-Airfix. No, I'm not. I can assure you. So I like Airfix when they're good. Like here, that's a good kit. Very good. excuse me, Stuka. I'm going to build that. That's on, and this is what I was going to say. So in my head, I have a list of the kits I'm going to build. I'm just not very good at actually executing it. I have a genuine, and I bet most of you are like this, a genuine intention to build a list, and the list includes actually every kit that's on this desk. Not the God, not that one, obviously, because that's absolutely gold. Do you know, by the way, when I did the recent review of this, I think was it August, early August, July, August. This was one of my most popular Matchbox kit reviews of all time. I think it's got something like 15,000 views. It's been absolutely knockout on the old Junkers 188. Really been a popular one, that. I didn't see that coming. I knew it would be popular, but it's been disproportionately popular. It's been more popular than the 32nd scale Matchbox kits. The Spitfire and the Messerschmitt. This has been the most popular Matchbox kit of all. How bizarre. And it's one that I didn't only got recently. Anyway, I was talking about the list that you have in your head. So, in my head, I mean, this Invincible, this is overdue. This was supposed to be built in the spring, summer. So that's behind schedule. We've got the Harrier, which I intend to actually do, not as a Falklands version, because I'm doing the Sea Harrier, which is also overdue. Was supposed to be done sort of May, June. That I'm going to replicate the making up for the disaster of Airfix's 24 scale Harrier. I'm going to do that as a Mark 1 and replicate the Harrier that was on the in the Airfix artwork. Number 1 squadron, you know, 1970 or thereabouts. So 73, maybe 73 with the later markings like that one's got. But I don't really care for the Mark 3 with the big bulbous nose and ugly really, and I quite like the look of the early ones. So I'm going to go for a Mark 1. But again, it's on the list. The Sheridan, I think that's an absolutely superb armour kit. I really love that from the minute I saw it. So that again is something I intend to build. The Tornado, definitely. I've got loads of extras in there for that one. And here's the thing, I'm only talking about stashes. I've forgotten about that. What's not included on my list is all the extras, because I tend to put it in the box for the respective kit. So this has got an upgrade detail up part set for the mesh grills, like a PE set, Tamiya official. This has got all sorts of Edward stuff, and it's got lots of weapons and Edward. I think it's got seats and photo etch kits and all sorts. It's full of goodies. So if you add those onto the price, so when I said 7,000, 7,000 actually now is a realistic number, I think. So there's loads of kits I've got, like Mosquito, the big Mosquito. That's got tons of extras in it as well. It's got gun bays and instrument sets and seat belts. And the list goes on. And these numbers, the cost of these items, oh, I must get a seat belt set, well, that's 20 quid, and you must get a PE set, that's 30 quid. Before you know it, you've almost doubled the price of the kit. It's incredible how we add to these things. Tornado's a case in point. The bits inside that kit are worth more than the kit. No question. Way more. Because the kit was only £29, £30, I think. It must have about £100 of extras in it. You know, injection, resin seats and tyres, weight on wheels, on and on and on it goes. And this is something that we all go into denial about. And this is when we need a drink again, because we need to talk about how do we justify it and how do we get away with it with our better halves. She's not around at the moment, so I mustn't spill this or drop it or smash it. I haven't got the guardian angel there to save me like last time. So that's the other thing, you know, when I'm now digressing, I'm making you think about the other elements. Not just a kit, but all these other bits you've bought. Extra decals, extra this, extra that. And you've actually got a box. So we'll have a look at the Tornado. I'm going to get the Tornado out, simply because it's such a good example of what I'm talking about. And I hadn't thought about that before I did the video. But I think this will just sum it up rather well. Let's have a little nose. Leave the Stuka back there. Nice Airfix Stuka. Harrier there. Let's just open this up. And I'll give you a little flavour, which a lot of you will be thinking, going a little bit red. and a bit embarrassed, thinking, here we go. This is not part of the kit. 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 This is not part of the kit, and on and on and on it goes. Is there any kit in here? The original kit? Oh yes, there's some. Oh no, that's not part of the kit. It's unbelievable. So that is part of the kit. Okay, we've got to the end of it. Jeez. So we have a kit there that's, let's call it £30, roughly. Let's see what these come to. Well, that's about £12. That's about the £12, £15. Let's call it £25, include the postage. Mass set, £10, 35. Seats, you see, ejector seats, £18. That's what's that? 35. Let's call it £53. We're up to Storm Shadow. What's this? This is probably another £18 or £20. That's taking us up to, let's call it £70. Let's just be generous. Say we're up to £70 with our brass resin Storm Shadows. So that's £70 so far. Lightning pod. Okay. What's that? It's probably about £9, £10. Let's see. That's £80. And then we've got the interior kit from Edward, with all the little extra bits of slats and the seat belts and bits of instruments and brackets and things, and your instrumentation set. So, I reckon, including postage, that's over £100 there. Easy, absolutely no question at all. 100 quid worth of stuff. That's crazy. So you got I'm saying, oh, it's 30 quid. You know, when I'm doing my calculation, I've got 7 grand worth of kit. It's probably a lot more than that, isn't it? You've got a kit there that's 30, you've called it 30, it's not, it's 130. It's madness, isn't it? We're all at it. So I'm going to put those back. That's just one. That's just one. Now the Corsair or the Mosquito, the Tamiya ones, they're just like this. I've got all sorts of extra goodies. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to build it. Are you? Are you, sir? Are you going to build it, madam? Are you actually going to get it done? This is the question, isn't it? Now then, suddenly it becomes a slightly different conversation, doesn't it? A slightly different conversation, because we say, oh, we tell the wife, we say, oh yes dear, it was only 30 quid. Keep it down, it's only 30 quid. Oh, alright then, you know. If you said it's 130 quid, she'd go, what the? And that'd be you sleeping in the garden, in the tent all night, I think. We can joke about it, but we justify things to ourselves, and we don't always take that step back and rationalise it properly and say, well, actually, this is quite a lot of money. That Tornado suddenly looks quite expensive at £130. Doesn't it? So I've got the Mosquito. Now that was a gift, so I didn't have to buy it, but that was retailing for £150. I think more now, way more. So that's £150, and I've probably got another £100. So that's probably £250 because I've got all these extras in it. It's a lot of money. It soon adds up, you know. Corsair, that's £100. It's probably got another £60. It just suddenly rockets. You're probably adding around 40% to 50%. Typically to the cost of the kit you've got. So suddenly the value of what you've got in your stash is a lot more than you think it is. And if you actually go around, if I was to go around like this, and that's just one example, that's not unique in my stash, especially on the aircraft kits, I think you tend to buy a lot more extras, and there's quite a few where I've got these, you know, various goodies and extras, and I must have this pitot head, and I need to have this resin seat, and I've done it again with the Sea Harrier. I've got lots of extras for that as well, and it just becomes a really big number, and it's not the figure that you think, even when you've got So what I should have really done is had another column saying, what extras have you got? Well, I'd need a bigger piece of paper, wouldn't I? Much bigger, yeah. Especially when you see the list of extras that's got, and they're not all like that, obviously. But there's quite a few of these ones that I intend. You see, I intend to build it. That's the reason I bought all the extras. But I've had all that stuff for 3 years now, and I haven't built it yet. But I will. I will. Promise. This is what we all sell ourselves. I will. I'll build that. I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it. One day. Day that never comes, you know. Anyway, I'm not preaching to anybody, and I'm because I've got nothing to boast about. I'm as bad as anybody else, probably worse, especially with my Matchbox selection. But all I'm saying is, it's quite thought-provoking when you start digging into this subject and thinking, how much money have I spent here? It's just a little more, little more, little more. Oh, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. And suddenly you've got, you know, in that case, you've quadrupled the value of the kit. Because this is quite typical with Revell, because they're not the best kits in the world. That's quite a nice Tornado. It's one of the better ones on the market, if not the best. Probably the best, actually. But that's not saying that much, and you've had to buy a lot of extras to make it up to the standard that some of us would like. Obviously, you get really fancy kits like some of the Tamiyas and some things like Zokimura. You'll probably spend a lot less, but they're very expensive kits. I mean, the Zokimura 109 was a bit of an exception. What was that coming out at? £85. That sounds cheap to me. So that's £85. It comes with all that stuff. I think the only thing it doesn't have is seat belts that you need to add. Apart from that, why would you add anything else? So if you had seat belts, let's call it £100. It's cheap compared to this, £130 for a Tornado. You know, and it's a big 32nd scale. Much cheaper than the Tamiya, which is £100 to start with, and then you put £50 or £60 of extras on. Makes you realise that Zokimura is a real bargain. But their kits generally are very, very expensive. So, you know, you've got the others like the File and the Sky Raider and all these big ones. They're £160 odd plus. But you get what you pay for. You know, you don't have to add a lot of things to their kits anyway, because they're so good in the first place. So it's worth thinking about. Instead of just rushing out and buying the next thing that comes out from Airfix, for example, or Revell, sometimes it's better to pay more and actually pay less in the end. You end up with a stash that's got better kits in it. I mean, I've got quite a few Airfix that I've not got around to touching. For example, the Wellington 72nd scale, the Phantom 72nd scale, the Buccaneer 72nd scale, 48th scale Hunter, got the Stuka 72nd scale BF 109E from the Battle of Britain. It's quite a list. It's quite a list of Airfix kits. I'm sure there's more that I've just forgotten. I'm sure there's others. We've got more coming, of course, with the Anson soon. And it's very easy to buy them because they're only £25. They're not bad priced at all, competitive. But before you know it, you're adding all bits to them because they're not that brilliant in some areas, and you've ended up spending £75 to £100 if you're not careful. So you've got to be careful. You know, be careful. I do recommend that we all think about having a list, managing it, and it's also good because I think, you know, I see 200 and I think that's ridiculous. You know, well, stop. Let's sell some off. So I sold a few off this year. I sold the P38 Lightning, the standard kit, which was in mint condition, wasn't touched. So got rid of that because I didn't need two of them. I've got the white box version, which I was given as a gift. So I got rid of the standard one that I'd bought, and they were like, everything's mint sealed, you know. So there are times when you think, well, you don't need that, you know. It's like wingnut wings. I mean, that's a terrible indulgence on my part. That's like my Matchbox stash. And a lot of you have got wingnut wings that are watching this, so don't criticise me about Matchbox, because your wingnut wings stash is just Matchbox on steroids, yeah? It's like a hyper, super, ultra Matchbox, isn't it, really? Very expensive, fortune, but they're a very good investment, of course. I didn't actually buy them as an investment, I just bought them because I knew they were the best of their kind. But how many of those am I going to build? I haven't built one yet. I want to build, probably going to build the Sopwith Camel, I think. But I've got so many nice ones. I've got the Albatross, I've got the Fokker, the Hermann Göring one, and what else have we got? We've got the DH, is it DH1? There's quite a big list of them actually. What's the other one? My mind's gone. I've got loads of them. I've got the Eindecker, some wonderful, wonderful kits there. But I'm nervous because they are appreciating in value, so I'm a bit nervous to build them, which is kind of a shame. But better investment than money in the bank, or it has been for a lot of years anyway. You shouldn't buy, I don't think you should really buy kits for investment. That's a bit of an exception, I think, what happened with Wingnut Wings. But, you know, those of you that have got the Border Models 132 Lancaster in your stash, I say to you, For shame on you. What are you thinking of? I'm not sure if that's going to appreciate in value, to be honest. I don't think it... Wings have brought that out. That would have been one to get your hands on, especially if they'd have managed to get that out before they closed the business. Can you imagine the way that would have escalated in price? That would be remarkable. You'd be talking £1,000 to £2,000 worth in your pocket, you know. Anyway, we're digressing. But stashes, come on. Tell me what's in your stash. Tell me how many. Tell me the approximate value. I think mine's about £7,000 max. 6 to 7, definitely. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's crazy. And I know people that have. Some of you will say that's absolutely ridiculous. I was talking to one of you, and I can't think who it was. I won't name him, but he said, "Oh, I've only got 6 or 7." I thought, wow, how restrained is that? You know, because people admire me saying, "Is it true that you actually always finish your kits?" And until recently, that was true. But no, I'm going to finish it. I've got that Porsche. I'm going to finish the Porsche, and I'll finish that. I never ever leave anything on the shelf of doom, because that's another excuse that people have. I think shelf of doom is like an excuse for lost interest in it. Shouldn't never bought it, or in some cases it's a pig of a kit. That is more understandable. We've all had those, but I've always pushed through to the bitter end to try and get it resolved and finished. I think having a shelf of doom is like, to me, it's a bit of an admission of failure. I'm not criticising anybody when I say this, but for me, I'd feel that was, yeah, why did you start it then? You know, you knew it wasn't that good in the first place. It's like starting the Airfix 24th scale Harrier. Oh, no, why would you do that? Don't do it, don't buy it, for God's sake. I don't know why they released that kit again. That was just, it was the price. If they released it at £45, £50, okay. But £95, no, that was a terrible error. They know it, you know it. If you're watching Airfix, you know that was stupid there. I know you do. Anyway, we won't do on that. Lots of companies make mistakes. But don't put it on a shelf of doom, you know, try and see it through to the end. And there are kits that I've got that I could, if I was inclined that way, to then start it and then lose interest. And that's not really what happened with the Porsche. I started building it, and then the day I was building it, I heard that Sterling Moss had died, and that knocked my confidence or interest a bit. It was a bit of a blow, even though he didn't drive a Porsche like that, but that kind of knocked me back, and I stopped. After a day I stopped building it, and this is when the rot set in immediately. And I didn't push through in the way I normally do. But anyway, we're in modelling season now. We can all get modelling, dark nights, you know, short days, etc. In the Northern Hemisphere anyway. Those of you down under, many of you, Kiwi land and Aussie land, you've got the summer to enjoy now. So you're the ones that are probably not going to be very productive over the next few weeks and months. But there we go. I just want to talk about stashes and try and I want to hear, please, in the comments if you're not watching live. If you're watching live, just let's hear it. How many have you got? What have you got? And what are the ones you regret? Because I tend to sell if I've got regrets. I'm just wondering if there's anything I regret. I think I've really got rid of them now, the ones that I wasn't too keen on, to be honest. Anything that's really bad? Not really. No, they're actually quite decent kits. You know, the Achilles from Tamiya, that's a nice one. Comes like the Sheridan. It comes with wonderful figures. Yeah, perhaps some of the Airfix I went a bit OTT with some of those, like the Phantom and the Buccaneer. I don't know. Waiting for the 48 scale RAF Buccaneer. That's one I could well build, because I built the old version, which was horrible. My least favourite build of all time. Somewhere between that and that Mirage from Edouard, or the Vulcan from Airfix, the old one. Anyway, digressing. So what's in your stash? Tell me all about it. Let's hear it. What's the one you hate the most in your stash, and what's the one that you... Tell me if you have a list of, say, 5 that you are desperate to build but just can't get around to. And I'll tell you what mine are. More than 5. The Mosquito, I haven't really got room for it. I need another cabinet. That's what's holding me back with the Mosquito. I don't want to just have it built and then gathering dust. But that is a priority target for me. I want to build that. I want to build the Corsair. The American Corsair. I want to. Oh, that's another one to do. I wanted to do around Christmas time. well, probably not this year. The Edward Zero that they brought out recently, and the Tamiya Tomcat, and have them in like the Final Countdown movie scene together. And I thought that'd be really cool, putting them together. And that would be good. I think that's got to be done at some point. And then there's others like the Jag Panther from Meng, which is a nice kit. I quite fancy building that. I fancy building this Sheridan. Yeah, we're getting into it now. The ones I really like to actually build. I feel, in summary, I don't want to drone on too much, but I feel that I've gone through some kits that are really quite poor, like the Vulcan I mentioned, and the Buccaneer, and the TSR2, and some very poor kits, really, and the Edward Mirage. And it's not often I built a kit that I actually want to and know I'm going to enjoy, like the Tamiya Spitfire, or the Mustang, or the Mosquito I mentioned I've still got to do, or this. There's some lovely kits, and life is short, guys, girls. I think I sort of want to, it's almost like paying a penance. I've got to earn it in my mind. I've got to earn the right to build the finest kits by building some real crap and getting through the bad stuff first. And I've done that, really. So this is why probably most of the ones I've got now are quite decent. The Rafale from Hobby Boss, that's not bad. Where is it? Where's the ICM one gone? Nice ICM kit I got recently. The Bronco, the Vietnam Bronco, that's another one I'd like to build. Nice kit. So many great. Oh yeah, here we go. Albatross the Red Baron. Sopwith Triplane. Hermann Göring's Fokker. Sopwith Camel. Some nice wings ones. Sopwith Snipe. Takom Sea Dart and Seawolf to go with the Falkland stuff. Again, like to build that. Carrier launch set, the Tamiya one for the Tomcat, that'd be nice. Oh, the Lockheed P-38 Lightning, that's a given. I'm going to build that sometime. Well, I need to get on with it, don't I? Special Hobby, Saab Viggen 172nd, that's a nice kit. The old Tarangas kit. The list goes on and on and on, really. The Sauber Mercedes race car from Le Mans. Hasegawa A7D Corsair from Vietnam. I mean, some wonderful stuff. Some good kits in that list. Very good kits. Need to get on with it, really. So, that in a way is another reason why I said recently I was going to do a bit less on YouTube and make it more involved, more specific, not just doing reviews. Be less reviews, I think, but they'll still be there. There'll still be the odd one, and I'll try to make them interesting. I'll try to put my own usual unique spin on things, but it's all very well doing reviews and then putting it in the stash, and this is what I'm trying to stop doing, really. I don't want to do reviews and then chuck them in the stash. That's crazy. There's no reason to do that. I need to focus more on building, and I'm going to try. I may do a build video. I'm not very keen on it because I haven't got the right environment to show you spraying, for example, which I don't enjoy spraying, but I'm reasonably good at it, but I don't enjoy it at all. Not at all. Maybe a build video here, a little bit of building, but I don't know if I've got anything different to offer to people that others do it better. I think they've got better setups and probably better builders as well. Yeah. But anyway. Think about your stash. Is it time? Here's my final sort of question for you. A challenge to all of you watching that have got a stash just like me. I've got 200. One chap said in one of the forums I was on a couple of months ago, and he said he had 600. And I thought, man, I think this is out of control. My wife thinks I'm completely bonkers. 600, she'd never allow that. I'd have to fill the house with them, you know. Now, you may have room for it, of course. Everybody's different. They've got different facilities and resources. But I think that's a bit crazy. This is crazy. But if you take the 140 out of Matchbox, you can see it's actually a stash of 60, isn't it? So there's really a 60 stash of kits that I might build if I had unlimited time on Earth. And this is the other thing that I was going to say, you know, about when you pop your clogs, you end up leaving them to somebody else who probably won't appreciate them or whatever. Or they get sold or given to charity, you know. Think about that. Think about it. You might use that money more wisely on something else. You can always try, sell them. It's like me, I've got some beautiful kits that people would love, and the ones that bought them on eBay have all been very happy. Other people can appreciate them and enjoy them, especially if it's kits that are no longer readily available. Well, I mentioned there the Hasegawa Corsair. Don't think I want to let go of that just yet, but that would be easy to sell because they're very hard to get hold of. Likewise with some of these Matchbox, of course, and the Wingnut Wings. You'd have no trouble selling any of those, really. But have a think about whether you should review your stash, slim it down a bit, or maybe you need to have some more. One of my friends there that I chat to on YouTube, I think he said he had 7 or 8, and I was thinking, you need more. Get buying. Perhaps you should buy some of mine. Anyway, there we go. Enough for today, but I just wanted to be thought-provoking and get some of you to really think about what is a stash, how big is too big, how small is too small. What is a sensible number? I personally think 15 or 20 kits is probably enough, actually. Even taking out my Matchbox, I think having 60 is still a bit stupid, really. Again, let's look at this. Great Wool Hobby Flanker in 48 scale. Lovely kit, that. Airfix Lightning 48 scale. Quite a nice kit, The list just goes on and on and on, really. Got some nice, Fujimi. Nice subject, but I always worry about Fujimi because I'm having one or two struggles with their car kits. They're not Tamiya and they're not Ebro. But they've got the Fujimi Williams FW14, Nigel Mansell's World Championship winning Williams Renault, very nice. Hawker Hunter, the Wellington, the FX Wellington, nice kits. So many lovely kits. Or just doing a classic like a Matchbox. Anyway, there we go, that's enough, quite enough from me. Have a think about your stash though. Tell me about it. What's the biggest stash you've ever had? What's it worth? Which ones do you treasure but can't get around to build? Which ones do you hate and regret buying? I say, honestly, I'm not just saying this, but the ones I did hate and regret, I think I've got rid of them all now, really. Pretty much, yeah, there's nothing really on there that I despise. But we do sometimes, we buy them and think, oh, this is awful, this is tragic, Or, nice kit but bad instructions. We've talked about that before, of course. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting. I didn't show you very much, but more about thought-provoking stuff, especially when we talked about buying extras and aftermarket. Be careful, you're running up these huge bills. It's okay if you're about to build it, that's great, no problem, all good. But if you do like me, that needs that needs it, are you going to use it though, are you? I recently, an example, I got common sense. I said I'd sold the P38 Lightning, the Tamiya one, the standard one. That's the FG. And of course they brought out the H white box that I have, and now they brought out the J version. And I had the Edward Gunbay set, and that was, what was that, £30 odd, I think it was. So I sold that as well, sold it separately. And never sell your extras unless it's a mask set. Never sell them included in the price when you sell on eBay. Another tip for you, because you'll lose money. You won't get your money back. You're better selling them separate items, actually. So if you've got a nice brassing set and you want to sell it on, I actually had another full set of weapons for the Tornado. Trying to think what they were now. The bombs, Lantern pod, and ECM pod. I had a complete set, and I sold it on. I pretty much got my money back because they're not easy to get your hands on. And I was worried about building the kit and then it being heavy and weighed down by all this resin, which could be a big issue. We had issues like that with the FX TSR2, and that was just with its standard equipment, shall we say. You could have got resin bombs and weapons for that, and the undercarriage couldn't take it, so I had to put white metal on mine, white metal legs for the undercarriage. Anyway, there we go. So have a think about it. Yeah, try and rein it in a bit. Or if you're the other way and you think, well, I haven't got 200, I need it. I need 200. Well, fill your boots then. I'm not saying don't buy kits at all. I would never say that to anybody. But try and keep it under control. I mean, when you look at my Matchbox list, it's like some sort of drug addiction. It's not good, is it, really? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, yeah? Or she. You know who you are. You're all as bad as me, I think. I bet some of you are way worse. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was me just chatting really today, but I thought it was something to provoke a bit of thought, make you think about your own situation, what you've got, what you shouldn't have got, and maybe if you need to sell a few or you need a few more. Thanks for joining me. Hope you'll give us a like and smash that like button. And we'll be back with some new kits, which I have alluded to already, coming very soon. We'll have 1 or 2 reviews coming for you. Probably not going to be as frequent as I mentioned the videos from me, but I'll try and make them interesting if I can. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made you think about your own stuff and your stash and how ridiculous and stupid it is. Shame on you all. Shame on every one of us. Shame on us. Anyway, no wonder I needed a drink, is it? And the Bordeaux Claret was very nice. I didn't spill on it today. Thank you for joining me. Great to have your company. Hope to see you all again soon in the very near future. In the meantime, thanks a lot. Look after yourselves. And bye for now.